Welcome to A Year of War and Peace. I'm your host, Brian E. Denton. A Year of War and Peace is a daily, year-long, chapter-by-chapter reading of and meditation on Leo Tolstoy's epic novel, War and Peace. In these videos and podcasts, you'll be treated to a free reading of one chapter per day of the novel, plus a reflective essay I've written individually tailored to that day's chapter. These readings are offered for free, though if you'd like to support me, you can do so in one of three ways. First, you could purchase my ebook, A Year of War and Peace. It features the entire novel, plus all of my reflective essays, and it's only $2.99 on Amazon.com. You could also become a patron at patreon.com/Brian E. Denton. If you sign up there, you'll receive a sonnet once a month, plus a link to an ebook of my collected sonnets. Finally, if you like, you can make a one-time donation to my PayPal account. The email there is brianedenton@gmail.com. You can also use that email to contact me. I'd be happy to hear from you. Your support is greatly appreciated. Today's reading is of Chapter 36 of War and Peace, followed by a reflection on the same. Chapter 36. Next day, he woke late. Recalling his recent impressions, the first thought that came into his mind was that today he had to be presented to the Emperor Francis. He remembered the Minister of War, the polite Austrian adjutant, Bilibin, and last night's conversation. Having dressed for his attendance at court in full parade uniform, which he had not worn for a long time, he went into Bilibin's study fresh, animated, and handsome, and his hand bandaged. In the study with four gentlemen of the diplomatic corps. With Prince Hippolyte Kuragin, who was the secretary to the embassy, Bolkonsky was already acquainted. Bilibin introduced him to the others. The gentlemen assembled at Bilibin's were young, wealthy, gay society men, who here, as in Vienna, formed a special set which Bilibin, their leader, called Les Notres. This set, consisting almost exclusively of diplomats, evidently had its own interest, which had nothing to do with war or politics, but related to high society, to certain women, and to the official side of the service. These gentlemen received Prince Andrew as one of themselves, an honor they did not extend to many. From politeness and to start conversation, they asked him a few questions about the army and the battle, and then the talk went off into merry jests and gossip. But the best of it was, said one, telling of the misfortune of a fellow diplomat, that the Chancellor told him flatly that his appointment to London was a promotion, and that he was to regard it. Can you fancy how he figured the cut? But the worst of it, gentlemen, I am giving Kuragin away to you, is that man suffers, and this Don Juan, wicked fellow, is taking advantage of it. Prince Hippolyte was lolling in the lounge chair with his legs over its arm. He began to laugh. Tell me about that, he said. Ah, you Don Juan, you serpent, cried several voices. You, Bolkonsky, don't know, said Bilibin, turning to Prince Andrew, that all the atrocities of the French army, I nearly said the Russian army, are nothing compared to what this man has been doing among the women. The woman is the companion of man, announced Prince Hippolyte, and began looking through his lorgnette at his elevated legs. Bilibin and the rest of ours burst out laughing in Hippolyte's face, and Prince Andrew saw that Hippolyte, of whom he had to admit he had been most jealous on his wife's account, was the butt of this set. Oh, I must give you a treat, Bilibin whispered to Bolkonsky. Kuragin is exquisite when he discusses politics. You should see his gravity. He sat down beside Hippolyte, and wrinkling his forehead, began talking to him about politics. Prince Andrew and the others gathered around these two. The Berlin cabinet cannot express the feeling of alliance, began Hippolyte, gazing around with importance at the others, without expressing, as in its last note, you understand. Besides, unless His Majesty the Emperor derogates from the principle of our alliance. Wait, I have not finished, he said to Prince Andrew, seizing him by the arm. I believe that intervention will be stronger than non-intervention, and... He paused. Finally, one cannot impute to the non-receipt of our dispatch of November 18. That is how it will end. And he released Bolkonsky's arm to indicate that he had now quite finished. Demosthenes, I know thee by the pebble thou secretest in thy golden mouth, said Bilibin, and the mop of hair on his head moved with satisfaction. Everybody laughed, and Hippolyte louder than anyone. He was evidently distressed, and breathed painfully, but could not restrain the wild laughter that convulsed his usually impassive features. Well now, gentlemen, said Bilibin. Bolkonsky is my guest in this house, and in Brünn itself. I want to entertain him as far as I can, with all the pleasures of life here. If we were in Vienna, it would be easy, but here, in this wretched Moravian hole, it is more difficult, and I beg you all to help me. Brünn's attractions must be shown to him. You can undertake the theater, I society, and you, Hippolyte, of course, the women. We must let him see Amélie. She's exquisite, said one of ours, kissing his fingertips. In general, we must turn his bloodthirsty soldier to a more humane interest, said Bilibin. I shall scarcely be able to avail myself of your hospitality, gentlemen. It is already time for me to go, replied Prince Andrew, looking at his watch. Where to? To the Emperor. Oh. Well, au revoir, Bolkonsky. Au revoir, Prince. Come back early to dinner, cried several voices. We'll take you in hand. When speaking to the Emperor, try as far as you can to praise the way the provisions are supplied in the routes indicated, said Bilibin, accompanying him to the hall. I should like to speak well of them, but as far as I know the facts, I can't, replied Bolkonsky, smiling. Well, talk as much as you can, anyway. He has a passion for giving audiences, but he does not like talking to himself, and can't do it, as you will see. All right, that concludes the reading of chapter 37 of War and Peace. I'm now going to move into my reflection on the same. A Year of War and Peace, Day 36. Waking Well. Those first moments of our waking day are often spent unwisely, lost in a mental murk of lazy enervation. Where's the snooze button? Where's the coffee? What is the best justification I can use to get back to bed? Not so with Prince Andrew. He gets right to work. In today's reading, he wakes up and immediately contemplates his day. He recalls the previous day's conversation with Bilibin. He anticipates his meeting with Emperor Francis. He recounts all the individuals he's met in Brünn so far, so that if he meets with them again, he will not forget them. This mental ordering of the day benefits Prince Andrew greatly. He's able to stay focused despite the many distractions he encounters. To take just one example, he has an early meeting with Bilibin and his friends. These friends, all part of the diplomatic corps, are pretty much just party people. They speak to Andrew of women, wine, and theater. They invite him to join them. But Andrew, mentally focused from his morning meditation, declines, and starts out on accomplishing his objectives for the day. The Stoics practiced something similar to Prince Andrew. They believed in undertaking a thorough morning meditation routine. Daily meditations. First, the Stoics found a reason to get up. In the morning, when thou risest unwillingly, let this thought be present. I am rising to the work of a human being. Why then am I dissatisfied if I am going to be doing the work for which I exist and for which I was brought up into the world? Or have I been made for this, to lie in bedclothes and keep myself warm? But this is more pleasant. Dost thou exist to take thy pleasure, and not at all for action or exertion? Dost thou not see the little plants, the little birds, the ants, the spiders, the bees working together to put in order their several parts of the universe? And art thou unwilling to do the work of a human being? And dost thou not make haste to do that which is according to thy nature? Marcus Aurelius, The Meditation. Then they ordered their day, making a mental to-do list, and promised to accomplish their objectives unless fate intervened and made that impossible. When are you going to take in hand any act? Remind yourself what kind of act it is. If you are going to bathe, place before yourself what happens in the bath. Some splashing of water, others pushing against one another, others abusing one another, and some stealing. And thus with more safety you will undertake the matter, if you say to yourself, I now intend to bathe, and to maintain my will in a manner comfortable to nature. And so you will do in every act. For thus if any hindrance to bathing shall happen, let this thought be ready. It was not this only that I intended, but I intended also to maintain my will in a comfortable nature. But I shall not maintain it so, if I am vexed at what happens. Epictetus, then Charidian. All right, thanks for joining me. I'm glad you were able to make it. I had a good time. I hope you did. Thanks for listening. Remember that if you'd like to support me, you can do so either by purchasing the ebook, A Year of War and Peace, becoming a patron at patreon.com, or making a one-time donation at PayPal. The links are below. Tomorrow we will be reading and reflecting on chapter 37 of War and Peace. I hope you'll join me. Until then, take care of yourselves and of others.